Radio host who talked all things sports with Night Owls this morning. 670 The Score is mourning the loss of sportscaster Les Grobstein.
I will take Jim McMahon and the 85 Bears over the current Bears top to bottom. That's not even close. And when everybody says get over the 85 Bears, how about no?
That voice has been the overnight host on The Score since 2009. The Chicago native graduated from Von Steuben High School and Columbia College. He started calling games for Northwestern basketball in 1970 and worked at several radio stations before making The Score his home. He died yesterday at his home in Elk Grove Village. He was 69 years old.
If you worked overnights, if you worked third shifts, if you worked whatever, at the time I was trying to get into this business, right? And I was working in bars. And I know, Studs, you've worked in bars too, but I would get off my shift at whatever time it was, midnight, whatever, get in the car and go home, and Les was there for me, right? And it was literally, at the time, I had about a 20 or 30-minute drive home. And that was decompression time. That was what's going on in the daytime. That was about as great a show. I mean, you, as you just said, listening to Les Grobstein do overnights is not something that you would get in any other cities. The man had an encyclopedic knowledge of everything Chicago sports.
Live and local, Chicago sports talk for your morning on 670 The Score.
Mully and Haw, Chicago Sports Radio, 670 The Score. I'm David Haw. Mully is off today, Martin Luther King Day. And this is news nobody wants to break, ever. Chicago Sports Radio has lost a legend, Les Grobstein. The Grobber, the nicest guy who had an encyclopedic memory, time for everybody. He passed away last night at the age of 69. Les Grobstein was one of a kind. We got the news, the sad news this morning, within the hour from Mitch Rosen, our boss, and obviously the Score's operations director and brand manager. And Mitch joins me now. Good morning, Mitch. Sorry for your loss, which is also Chicago's loss. Good morning.
Good morning, David. It is a very sad morning, and I think what you pointed out, it's a sad loss for us at the Score, but it's such a big loss for the Chicagoland area, the listeners who, work with Les overnight, go to bed with Les overnight. Les, is a companion to these people, and I still say it in present tense. It's just hard to believe that Les is gone, and it was a sudden loss. I'm still in shock, and it's just a loss. It's a loss for everybody.
Difficult day for everybody, Mitch. I think people trying to process this because it is such a shock to our systems. He leaves behind a son, Scott, and beloved Kathy, who he liked to talk about a lot. Les was a private guy, but also somebody very proud of his family, of his relationship, of him being out there and having dinner on a birthday, celebrating an anniversary, posting those pictures on his social media feed. And he was just a man among the people. And I feel for them, and condolences to his family on behalf of the Score family, because Les was one of those guys that, when you met him, whether you were a listener, whether you've known him for 20 years, 40 years, or 50, his entire radio career, he made an impression, and he left you smiling. And this.
Have you ever done that? Answer my question. Answer my question, or you're gone. Have you ever been in a locker room? Have you ever been in one? I don't think you.
I'll tell you what I do know.
What do you know?
I do know management, and I've managed businesses.
Your businesses are not the National Football League. Have you ever been in... I'm going to ask you one last time before we kiss you goodbye.
Please.
Have you ever been in a locker room?
It's no different than any other $2 billion business. You don't put rookies in.
I guarantee you, I would be willing to bet anything you are not involved in a billion-dollar business with what you do. You're not.
Multi-million-dollar industries, yes, I have.
Multi-million is not a billion.
No, but here's the difference. These people, you guys spend your time talking about Trubisky.
He's the quarterback. What the hell do you want us to talk about? He is the quarterback. Of course we're going to talk about him.
for the McCaskies to sell their $2 billion business.
They're not selling anything. They're not
somewhere
selling.
in the Caribbean and let somebody like maybe, I don't know.
You're right. You don't know. By the way, first of all, most important, Jim, have a nice holiday. Secondly, I got one last thing to tell you. Simple as that. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. That guy was angry. I think I gave him a little bit of anger back, don't you think?
You did. You justifiably so. And for the record, we definitely do talk about the McCaskies on the station. We just don't talk about them as much.
He didn't know what the hell he was talking about.
We just don't talk about them as much as, Pace and Nagy, guys that have an actual influence on the team as right now.
They are the football operations people, not the McCaskies. George McCaskey does not get involved with player personnel, but he's a good guy, and if this guy doesn't like me saying that, well, you know what he can do? He can have the mistletoe on my coattail. And this is the time of year for mistletoe, isn't it?
I have a mistletoe at home, Les.
Well, that